Set builder and interval notation uses inequalities when you're graphing the inequalities. If the inequality is not underlined, you use an open circle. If it is underlined, you use a closed circle. The word or, if they ever use the word or, the arrows are split apart. The word and, they are together. Also, there is one more thing that you need to know for this situation. If it's an open circle, you need parentheses. If it's a closed circle, you need brackets. And that will make more sense in a moment. The arrow also tells you where to draw. I'll explain all that in a minute. And interval notation, always read the graph from left to right. So the first thing you want to do is to go ahead and graph it. Now this is a special way here that they have. It's called a set builder notation, where they actually tell you the variable that they're using, and then this line means that they're getting ready to tell you what the equation is. So x, or inequality, x is greater than or equal to 0. So first of all, at 0, I'm going to draw a closed circle because this inequality is underlined. I'm not sure why it's not letting me. Okay. And see how this arrow is going to the right? That means you draw your arrow to the right. Now, if you're reading the graph from left to right, so go to the left and start reading the graph. The graph that you just drew doesn't start until you get to 0, and that is a closed circle. So you use brackets for a closed circle, and then you have to tell where the other point is. Well, here's the problem. This arrow means it's going on forever into infinity. So there is no end point to this particular graph, and infinity always has parentheses. So then you just put in your numbers. So 0, and then infinity kind of looks like a sideways 8. So that is how you write the interval notation for this graph, or this inequality. Okay, -5 is going to have a closed circle because the inequality is underlined. -3 is going to have an open circle because the inequality is not underlined. The letter, the variable, is in the middle, which means you draw in the middle. Okay, so you want to decide for interval notation, you want to decide what your symbols are first, whether you're using brackets or parentheses. Remember, you're going from left to right. So closed and then open. So closed is brackets, open is parentheses. The numbers, you put them in order, -5 and -3, -5 and -3, and that one is finished as well. Okay, -1 has an open circle because the inequality is not underlined. The arrow is pointing to the right, so you point your arrow to the right. That's the graph. For the interval notation, your starting point is an open circle, and then there is no ending point. It's going into infinity. So open circle uses parentheses, infinity uses parentheses. The graph starts at -1. The graph does not end, so that's infinity. Okay, on the next one, open circle at -5. The arrow is pointing to the left. Now remember, for your interval, your notation, you're reading from left to right, but there's no starting point over here on the left because this arrow means going on into negative infinity forever. So you're going to have infinity, negative infinity, uses parentheses, and then the graph will end at -5 with an open circle, so that's also parentheses. So the graph starts reading left to right at negative infinity, and it ends at -5. Interval notation. This next one, -5, has an open circle because the inequality is not underlined. The arrow is going to the right. So this, you have an open circle, which is parentheses, and the other end you have infinity, which is parentheses. You put in your number from -5 to infinity. Interval notation.